students from Ikot or Private State Polytechnic, Ikot and people from Ikot youth protested police brutality, rights abuse and violation, extortion, among other issues. And that led to the intervention of the police commissioner, CP Baba Mohammed Azare. And of course, he promised that he was going to look into that matter. I was on transit last week when this incident first popped up. A young man who was seated next to me narrated how he was arrested at just about 9 to 10 p.m. coming back from having a haircut after spending so much time waiting in a queue. He was arrested unlawfully and taken into police custody, but for the fact that he had connection to somebody within the ranks and files of government, he would not have been taken out of police custody that day. You're looking at police personnel who are dressed like touts and thugs without any display of the identity that shows that this person is a police personnel, operating in bikes that are not marked as police bikes, arresting people indiscriminately, and of course extorting money by way of bail. This is what led to the protest by students of the Polytechnic community and youths of the area. I'd like to pick your reaction to that before we let you go this morning.
Well, thank you. The insecurity at Akwa State Polytechnic Korosura is not a new development. Some months ago, we read that some persons go in there to rape students, steal from them, and it was like something that should be brought to the public glare. These other aspects on police extortion is something that we cannot deny, because there is what we call the Nigerian factor, which is about corruption. Wherever people see where they can turn to an economic venture, they do anything, and because of impunity, they say that what can you do? But by the time this thing got to this point where students have to do protests, it shows that there is also a leadership challenge in the Polytechnic, because the authorities there should have been able to nip this in the bud. To expose these children to what they are going through is unnecessary, and that is why we have advocated in open forum. Recall that I think on the 26th of last month, there was a public hearing for a bill to convert the College of Education of France to University of Education. Now we said, we made our positions. We don't need paper qualifications. We need skilled people. So why not make it University of Education and International Development, University of Education and Enterprise, University of Education and Innovation. But above all, we advocated that there is no proper supervision of institutions in the education sector in the state. And we propose that the supervision of tertiary institutions should be removed from Ministry of Education to the Office of the Deputy Governor, not because of the person that is there, but because we should be able to be having a Deputy Governor who should be able to render serious service, not just being a spare tire or handling the boundary issues that it's not emergency, whatever. Yeah, education is so key. Unfortunately, that bill has been passed and the amendment has not been made. We are still advocating for that because it's not been signed. The governor can do something. So, if tertiary institutions are supervised properly, I tell you sincerely, this very development wouldn't have come up. We also need to know that there are serious cases going on internally having to do with lecturers, teaching and non-teaching staff. Some of them are in court. Open Forum is handling a case in the Akwa State Polytechnic having to do with some persons that were disengaged. From what we have heard, which we are still working on, without due process. Same thing with Akwa State University. And a lot is going on. That's not the issue. The issue is it is time to look at what is to be done to make education what it's supposed to be. We have a master plan that was put in place under the Manual administration with Professor Ilarian chairing the education think tank. A set of emergency was the education sector. Instantly, it was abandoned. And you wonder why so much money was spent to do education summit. So much money was spent to fund the think tank, which they are even still owing the chairman, who spent money from his pocket to complete the task in 9 months.
Okay, so Citizen MK, let's look at a little bit into what can be done. First off, you've highlighted some of the key provisions or key recommendations that your organization and civil society organizations made to the bill that has now been accepted to the governor, or that has been transmitted to the governor to append a signature and make it a law, which will make the Akwa State College of Education now become the University of Education Advanced, which is a great development as far as the people of Akwa State is concerned. But we're looking at security across our campuses, and like you've highlighted, if we had a good education monitoring team, they would have been on hand to understudy and know what is happening across the campuses and thus be able to proffer solutions to it. But the issue of security is not just about monitoring. It also comes down to the activities of police personnel and other security agencies resident in Akwa State. Ikot is now making the spotlight. Apart from the allegations of criminal theft, rape, and murder that we've seen coming out of that area for a while now, this is like the highest activity, you know, like the climax of all of the allegations and all of the concerns as far as security of the area of coverage is here. What can the government of Akwa State do to ensure that this does not continue in not just Ikot but other campuses and institutions that we have in Akwa Ibom? Remember last week in Oron, the governor said with the building of the different model, schools in the state, there's going to be an education monitoring team. Do you think when that is enacted, it should extend to cover across board, not just primary, secondary, but also tertiary institution? And if that is done, can this solve the problem or some of the challenges within the academic system?
The solution to whatever challenges we have in the education sector are just low-hanging fruits. The challenge is when you have square pegs in round holes. Leadership recruitment is not doing very well in Akwa Ibom, just like in Nigeria. Appointments are given because of political considerations and man no man, as you say in local parlance. And you don't expect such people to deliver. For instance, I cited a case where you have a plan, a master plan, and somebody sat there as a commissioner and never could even help the governor who did his best to say, Your Excellency, this one should be done on this sector, until it was abandoned and no amount of calling out the authorities has yielded. What we are saying now, you see the Akwa State Polytechnic, there is a security management team headed by somebody may be likely to be called the chief security officer. That is the person that will be liaising within and outside the campus. Any issue that involves students, they would have been nipped in the bud. So questions will have to be asked. You know, people don't give accounts. People don't want to be accountable. People don't want to be productive. Positions that people hold is just for their stomach infrastructure and asset accumulation. The governor cannot do everything, but he can do so much through people. Yesterday on our program on sister station, we advocated for a think tank. The worst that is happening is that some of the persons who had failed in their former positions are being recycled and recycled in very sensitive positions that would never yield results. There are things we can't say on air, obviously. But like we say, we are a public policy ideas bank, and we are available to give ideas to government, both privately and like we do openly. There are things I cannot say on air now because this is a security matter, but the truth of the matter is that there are low-hanging fruits that we will just pluck, and Akwa Ibom State would not just be safe, but be very safe.